right. Today on the SRS section of TNL, we have a special guest, Bradley Allen.
Morning, Mike.
Brad, how we doing, bud?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for joining us. And most of you guys remember last week we had Danielle Byrne on, and we did the kind of a basics, right? Just the kind of concepts of annuity and IULs, and we're going to continue to build upon that every single week with this, the SRS segment. This is something that, we transitioned recently away from AMS to SRS. I mean, same team with actually, I shouldn't say the same team. It's a lot of new help, right? So a lot of the usual, like Bridget, that whole squad's still here. We have people like Brad, like Danielle, like Spencer, like Jesse. These guys are going to be helping out. And so week in and week out, our goal here is to really help, I guess, demystify this whole idea that these products are advanced. They're not advanced. They're just a different quadrant, different, part of our business. So today we're going to talk specifically about the annuities. We're going to get into some of the key features on annuities, one being the income rider, and then the other being the bonuses that some of these products offer. So we'll start with the bonus stuff. I got Brad Allen here, who's one of our top annuity producers. Believe it's 4 years in a row. Brad, you've been Hall of Fame.
Correct. Yes.
And we just something that this is, something that y'all watching TNL get the first peek at, or first piece of information about our Hall of Fame this year. So since we started Hall of Fame, it's always been the all lines deal where we look at your life production, we take 10% of your annuity production, add that up, and that's your number. But in an effort to really shine some more light on the annuity volume that we do, the producers that we have, this year we're going to have a Hall of Fame for annuities, Hall of Fame for life, and Hall of Fame for agency. So agency will still be all lines. That's 10 million. Your agency places 10 million in business in force through the annuities. So Brad, if you want to just kind of start and I guess explain in a nutshell, we learned last week that an annuity is a contract between your client, life insurance company, keeps the money safe. That's what we've established. We do fixed index annuities. We don't mess with anything variable. We're not licensed to lose people money, right? We're only licensed to protect it and help them make some more money. So If you can kind of pick up right there, whatever you want to share about the actual annuity, but we know it's a safe money product.
You bet. So when I'm sitting with the client, and it's typically for a life appointment, it's say it's a mortgage protection appointment, and I go through my financial inventory. It's like, what do you make, what do you spend, and what's left over? And then I always ask, are you a saver? Because I want to know if they're going to be able to afford the recommendation for the life product I'm putting in front of them. And I ask, what do they have for liquid cash? just all in checking savings, any given Tuesday in a month, what do you normally see? And I consider that like the silver question, because oftentimes I will find, a sizable amount of money in somebody's bank account. And it's like, Mr. Smith, how interest works, right? So you've got bank account, which is pretty much nothing, and then money market, CD, bond, and then indexing, and then the market. And I specialize in indexed annuities, and they're going to average somewhere between 6 and 8%. So why are we leaving so much interest on the table here? You'll find a lot of annuity opportunities there because it's essentially an interest-bearing savings account that will, over time, like a 10-year period, it'll outperform the other more conservative investments like bank account, money market, CD, bonds. And so there's one way that I've uncovered several indexed annuity opportunities. And then, of course, the golden question is, what do you have that acts like insurance? In the event of your death, what would cover your bank note? Like in the event of a mortgage protection appointment, you owe some money to the bank. If you pass away, do you have something that covers that? And then you can find opportunities in 401ks or IRAs. And so you do run the appointment that you're there to run, always, always, always. You don't want to be like overreaching, kind of like bait and switch, if you will. Hey, I thought you were here to help me protect my mortgage type of thing. But, I just let people know I'm full service. I do it all, and I'm here for you. And so if I identify that opportunity, then I set a follow-up appointment after I take care of the appointment that I'm in. But most people, when they think of annuities, they think of like, this negative connotation that it's a variable annuity where you would still be able to lose money. So I explained to them the differences between the variable, the fixed, and the indexed. And basically it's like, I just like you said, Mike, I'm not in the business of putting people in a position to lose money. The things that I put my clients into have guarantees and they don't go backwards. They only go up, they don't go down. So that's just kind of how I set the table.
Okay. Would you say most clients know, or at least have heard the term annuity, but are really unsure of how it works? Are most of your clients, they've heard it and they think it's the, like you said, the variable where they could lose money? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say about 50-50. Okay. So I'm in Maricopa County in Arizona. The people that do know about the word annuity, I would say 80+% have a negative connotation in their mind, like, wow, oh, I wouldn't want that.
Got it. Now, so the ones that don't, how are you explaining this to them? So I'm saying I've never heard of an annuity, Brad. What is an annuity? What would you say to that client?
Right. So it's a contract. It starts and ends. Doesn't mean that you need to leave the engagement at that point, but it does have an end date. And so they're basically like a bank on steroids, right? Except that there's no fractional reserve requirement with the people that I represent as a broker. I've got many options for you, but they're completely liquid. So it's safe, smart growth. So you're not going to participate in the market's downside. You're only participating in the market's upside. And they take a little off the top for managing the index for you, and that helps them manage their downside risk. And then you have access to this account day one, 10% no withdrawal charge. And that kind of puts a governor on your spend that allows them to invest the 90% that you're not accessing with confidence. They can invest that and they make money alongside you, just like a bank does, but they're more liquid than what your traditional bank setup would look like.
Got it. One of the big features, at least, I remember when I was in the field, I love this aspect of the annuity because there are times, Brad, where you're moving money from somewhere. Maybe there's a penalty, maybe there's a surrender charge, right? Like depending on where the money is, and not all the time, but there's some products that offer a bonus, right? And I was talking to Jesse Hantler recently, and he was talking to me about a client he met with, moved some money over. And the bonus that the client received was more than the commission that Jesse, it was awesome because, our bread and butter is life insurance, right? And that's, essentially we're introducing a new bill to a client. Obviously the value's there. But it's a different sale because they're purchasing something, right? And this is something that we do where there's a percentage of the time where the client's actually making money by just moving this money over. So can you talk a little bit about which products, you're predominantly writing with this bonus and how that bonus works?
Absolutely. So over the last, I would say 14 months, I've written a lot of Athene Performance Elite 10 Plus. And I used to live in Washington State. And for the last couple of years, I've lived in Arizona. In Washington, the bonus for a rollover is 14%. But in Arizona, a rollover is 16%. So check your states for the actual bonus. But like if I'm sitting with a client that lost, say, 20% in the market last year, they had a certain amount. Now they're down to say 100K. And I show them how this works. And I say, well, I can get 16 of your 20 points back just by rolling it over. And there's no cost and there's no tax event. And you're going to participate when the market bounces back, but you're not going to get caught up in all of the volatility that's happening right now. That peace of mind, I just tell people, hey, zero is the hero. You never go negative and you're not sitting there just like at a fixed rate and you're like totally like not disconnected from the market. You want the market to do well. I say all the time, when you walk by a Bloomberg screen and it's all green, it's like, yeah, man, I'm getting that. Yeah. And when you're walking by that same screen the next day and it's all red, it's like, nope, I'm going to play golf. I don't participate in the red.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the bonus, obviously, major advantage for your clients, and there's some situations where it can help offset any type of penalty. Now, you mentioned the product, Performance Elite 10 Plus.
Correct.
What does the 10 mean?
So the 10 is a 10-year term. So while you're in the contract of 10 years, you need to stay within 10% of your account, your annual account value. So like in this example, 100K, you've got a 16-point bonus. So now you're sitting at 116,000 instead of 100. You could take out 11,600 day one. That's 10%. There would be no withdrawal charge. But let's say that, like halfway through the contract, it's year 5, and there's a 10% withdrawal charge if you exceed that 10% of account value. So again, let's say it's at 100K for easy math. You've got 10K you can take out, no withdrawal charge. But for whatever reason, you need 11K. You just have to have it. There's something about that extra 1,000 that makes it worth your while. You don't care what the charge is. And so what they will do when they send you that 11K, it'll be 10,900, because they would hold back $100. It wouldn't be a 10% withdrawal charge on the whole 11K. It would just be on that 1,000 that puts you over the 10%, if that makes sense.
And you can, is it 10% every year you can withdraw?
Yeah. So with that particular product, it's got some flexibility to it. If you skip your 10% in year 1, you can take out 20 in year 2, which a lot of people really like. It's like, no, we did the planning, our liquidity. And oh, by the way, Mike, this is the number one thing when people are working with writing indexed annuities, it's all about the questions you ask and just the little bit of planning that you do up front. And it's all around adequate liquidity, because we don't want people needing to access more than 10% of their account value annually for 2 reasons. Number 1, we don't want them to see a fee that they should otherwise avoid. Right. And number 2, they're going to burn through that nest egg in a 10-year period. Yeah. And the number 1 concern in retirement is outliving your money. And that's kind of where we shine. We help people secure their retirements so that they don't outlive that money.
Absolutely. Last question before we get into that piece. So what happens at the end of 10 years on or whatever term, if it's a 5, 10, 15, what happens after those 10 years? Or when the term
and I get that question a lot. So you'll be out of the surrender period. You know, if everything's working for you, why would you leave? I mean, It's like, you don't have to end the relationship. You're still with, the contract piece, the term is over, but you can leave your money there and let it continue to grow. And the thing is that over a period of 10 years, there's a lot of innovation that happens in our industry. It could be that we pivot at an appropriate point and we put you in an even better product, but we're not in the business of speculation. We're in the business of certainty. And we bring peace of mind. Just like on the life side, it brings a lot of peace of mind. So does securing somebody's retirement funds.
Yeah, absolutely. So you alluded a little bit to outliving their money, right? It's the biggest fear in retirement, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think it's the beauty about these annuities is there's several products and options where that is impossible, right? You set someone up properly, they cannot outlive their money. You speak to that a little bit, the lifetime income and how that works on, whatever products you want to talk about.
Oh, you bet. So, when I first started, I was just like really thirsty for all the information I could get my hands on. So I watched all the videos. I never missed training. I followed Tom Hegna, and I'll never forget something he said is that the annuity products that we represent are the only investment vehicle that have longevity credits. So what does that mean, a longevity credit? If I give, let's say Athene in this case, 100K, and I turn on Paycheck for Life, I annuitize it, right? Let's say it's like the Agility product. At the end of the 10-year contract, I turn on the income rider and boom, it's based on what's in my income base that they're going to continue to pay me a paycheck for the rest of my life. And let's say, like in my family, all the men live into their late 90s, some over 100, right? So it's been 18 years and I've been getting my paycheck, and all of a sudden I've actually exceeded the amount of money that I originally gave them. They have to keep paying me that paycheck forever. And so that's the beauty of an income rider, is that once you turn that sucker on, it's like a Social Security or a pension. It's a paycheck for life. And Tom, you'll hear him talk about paychecks and play checks. Well, the paycheck would be like the Social Security, and then the annuity monthly distribution would be the play check. And psychologically, they've proven that people that know money's coming in the mail live longer. It's like, oh, Martha, here I come. I'm not feeling well today. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I got about $1,200 coming in a couple of days from a team. This ain't that bad. Suck it up. Right.
Yep,
you know, so these things will actually make you live longer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I believe it, because what that stress that puts on someone, fearing that I'm not going to have enough money to live, I can imagine what that does to your health, right? So just that sense of security. And on some of these lifetime or some of these income riders, there's also bonuses involved there, correct?
So like on the agility that I just mentioned, it's, you need to do the planning up front because that's a 10-year wait, right? So up front, they give you a 35% bonus to the income base. So let's say 100K is what I roll over from my 401k, and then boom, I have 100K of cash, but I have 135 of income base bonus that's sitting there. So if, let's say, 10 years went by and nothing had changed, my paycheck for life would be based on 135K, not the 100K of cash that I gave them. The other thing that's cool about agility is that every year it checks in. Let's say that the interest comes back at 4%. So your 100K goes up to 104. Your income base, your benefit based bonus is credited 175% of whatever the interest came back at. I know that sounds complicated, but it's really not. Let me show you. So cash money was 4K because it went up 4 points, right? 4% interest gain. But if you add 175% on top of 4% real money, that's like 7%. That's 7%. So 7% bonus would go into the benefit base that your paycheck for life would be based on. So it's not just the 35% they give you up front. Every year they're pumping that thing up above the cash value that comes back through the interest the index threw off. And so at the end of 10 years, when you turn on that paycheck for life, it's a bigger paycheck for life. Now that's for the people that can wait 10 years. What if I want to retire in like 5? Well, then that wouldn't be the right product for you. It's just like the life volume that we do, not one size fits all. Right. But if I wanted to retire, say, Mike, in 5 years, right, then, and I wanted to do, an income annuity, then I would say with the Athene portfolio, I would look at the Ascent, because the Ascent you can annuitize right after the 30-day free look. So you can turn on paycheck for life almost immediately. There's no like wait for a year or something, right? So let's go back to the same example. I give you 100K and they give you a 25% bonus on the Ascent. So my 100K is 100K of cash, but then I've got 125 in my income base. And remember, I'm not going to retire for 5 years. Every year that I defer turning on the income rider, they add 10% of the original amount you gave them. So I gave you 100K, so 10% would be 10K. So each year you defer, in this case, 5 years, I would get 10K. So that'd be 50K. So instead of 100,000, I'm getting the original bump of 25. So now I'm at 125 plus the 50 because I waited 5 years. So that's now 175 that I would then be turning the paycheck for life on at that point because I didn't want to wait 10 years. So there's something for everyone, and it's really based on the client's requirements. And I don't know who said this, but it's something that I've never forgotten. Whoever asks the best questions wins. Yeah. Because you want to make sure and set up the plan ahead of time so that you're showing where this fits. It's typically not an all or nothing, but when you satisfy a requirement, remove the downside risk, either get them a bonus or security in their budget, they know they have a paycheck for life, you're a rock star with these people. I'm telling you, at the annual check-ins, people are so thankful when they've dodged a bullet of losing some money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the way you explain it because it simplifies it where I don't care if you're just started today, you can ask these questions. If you're using your financial inventory the way you're supposed to, you're going to get a lot of the information anyways, right? Ask the golden question. Golden question is, do you have anything that acts like life insurance, which could be a 401k, IRA, maybe they have an annuity. I mean, I've sat with clients that had a variable annuity, didn't understand that they were losing money, and there was an option that was similar where they, there's money somewhere. And then I love, your silver question, right? How liquid are you? What do you have in the bank? What do you have on hand for cash, right? And then now, do you ever get any pushback with that, or like people are like, because you're out there to talk about life insurance, and now you're asking, how much money you got in the bank? What do you say? To any pushback you'd get to that question?
So it's funny that you should ask that. I had a guy with $1 million in his portfolio come into my office yesterday. And so he sat down and I said, great. So before we get into options, let's do a little planning so I can make a suitable recommendation. So I started doing the financial inventory and I said, what do we have for household income? And it's like, $5K. And I said, okay, then what are we putting out for expenses like mortgage? He's like, you don't need to know that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And it's like, no, that's private information. I said, well, I can't move forward and make a suitable recommendation if I don't know what I'm working with. I couldn't even actually submit a request for you to transfer any of these funds unless we had this information. He's like, you don't need to know. And I said, well, then we can't proceed. And he said, well, there's like 10,000 people that would take my $1 million in a heartbeat and they wouldn't ask any of these questions. And I said, well, you know what? With all due respect, sir, I'm not one of them. So you have to, and that's hard, by the way. When somebody's looking to hand you $1 million and you say, no, I'm not going to, sidestep or take a shortcut in my process, because it'll always come back to bite you. Right. Just be super consistent when you find this. And if somebody resists, then you just pull up stakes. Because if you lose control of a phone call or an appointment and you hand it back to somebody that doesn't hold the license, you're dead in the water. Right. And you have to hold your ground no matter how hard it is, whether it's a 10K opportunity or a 10 million opportunity. The process is the same because, we're here to serve, but we can't serve anybody after that client if we end up losing our license for making, a non-suitable recommendation and we don't put them in a better spot. That's what I love about what we do. Because, I've had roles in the past where I did put people's money at risk. I don't anymore. Right. So I don't have to stand in front of somebody and say, well, you signed off. We had a good plan. I guess we'll try to get them next time, but I'm going to keep getting my fee. Yeah. None of that. Right. No, and
it's rewarding. It's like, we talk about how rewarding the life insurance piece, especially when you've experienced your first death claim and it becomes real. You understand the impact that it has. But you're talking about taking someone's money from a lot of times a volatile, situation where, the market's so up and down, right? So you're taking people that are most likely going to outlive their money, and then we're changing that for them. Like, that's so impactful. Think about just the concept of that lifetime income. So I give you whatever, 200 grand, I go to retire and I'm 30 grand past that, but I'm still getting paid because of this lifetime income rider,
Yeah. Yeah, I had a client pass away and the funds went to his wife so she could stay in the house, because when I sat with him, this was in 2020, he had COVID, he had stage 4 cancer. He didn't want me coming in the house. So I wrote the thing from the driveway. And it was one of the easiest, rollovers. The entire process was just a dream. And he said, this is to make sure that my wife doesn't have to leave this house when I leave this earth. And so knowing that, I was integral to making that happen, and he would not have qualified, obviously, for anything near what we did on the life side because he had stage 4 cancer. I think he was like 68 or 69, pretty young guy, really. And it's just, life happens, but we were able to protect his estate and make sure that bank note would be paid off at the time of his passing. And that was because I used my entire license and I was able to put an annuity in that house. So that's super rewarding,
Absolutely.
By the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last thing, Brad, and we talked about all the good, right? There's always a downside. Like, when we're dealing with life insurance, there's chargebacks, right? We know that, 30% of your business most likely will fall off. That's just industry average, right? You write 10 policies, odds are 3 of them are going to cancel for whatever reason, So what does that look like on the annuity? Are there chargebacks? If so, how often do they happen?
Sure. Well, yes, there are. And I've had that happen. And so I actually had $1 million annuity chargeback. The lady just had buyer's remorse. She said, no, I want all my money back. And so, the money was refunded. And then I had 2 options. I could either work it off get on a payment plan and work it off, or I could just give all the money back.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, this is like a pretty sizable small business loan. I'm actually going at a pretty good clip. I'm just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. If you one way or another, you need to pay off the debt. But the chances of an annuity charging back is, I don't know exactly, but I would say, at least for me, it's less than 1%.
Yeah.
So when people get over the mental, like, I'm not going to be in the market anymore and all the excitement and stuff, and, I'm kind of out of the game, if you will, which they're really not. They've removed their risk. They're really not looking to reintroduce risk. There's something really extraordinary that has to happen for a chargeback. It's probably that I just didn't do a very good job of describing what the benefits were, because yes, on the life side, things charge back, but on the annuity side, it's super, super rare. After 6 months, you would only owe half. After 12 months, there would be no risk of the chargeback. So like I've had a client die 7 months in. And so I was on the hook for, half of the commission that was paid because it was past the 6 months. So they can charge back, but that's like, doesn't even enter my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Very small. I mean, less than 1% versus 30%. Yeah. So,
exactly.
And the key is ask the questions, keep it simple. Use SRS. We have Ask a Specialist. There's someone that will help. Like this stuff that Brad's talking about, we don't expect you to know all this your first time. This is just so you can get acclimated with the products, how they work. But you have an annuity or potential annuity, you're going to work with Ask a Specialist, and someone's going to help you out, and they're going to guide you. They're going to suggest the right product. They'll help you with suitability. And, it's just one more way we're, trying, because our goal, Brad, transparent, last year we issued just under 200 million in annuities, right? Yeah. And I think we could do 400 this year if we're intentional about it. And it starts with stuff like this. I really do, because of the 20,000 plus agents that helped an individual with life insurance last year, do you know that we had less than 1,000? It was about 800 and change that wrote one of these advanced products, right? IUL annuities. So that's why we go, whoa, they're not advanced. We're going to simplify them. And I'd love to see 5,000 agents help someone out with one of these simple retirement solutions this year.
That is the opportunity sitting in front of us, is just like, it's not white collar, it's blue collar, right? This is just like 1, 2, 3, ABC, keep it simple. And the more we get mass adoption, this is a game changer for FFL. Yeah. If we take and double and triple, just like we did on the life side, we were doubling and doubling and doubling. Well, let's just apply that same technique on the SRS side. And we keep doubling and doubling and doubling. Market disruptor on the life side, absolutely. Yeah. How about we be a market disruptor in every way we can use our license? That's what I'm about.
I love that. We're going to do it this year, Brad. Well, I appreciate you doing this. We'll have you back on in a few weeks, talk about some, more in depth. But next week, we're going to have someone on talking about IULs. So we'll do kind of a same deal here that we did this week with IUL, so we can understand that better. And if there's anything that you guys, any questions you have, email us, drop them in the comments, whatever. But the idea with this portion of this segment, or with the whole show, is to really serve you. So we want to know what's on your mind. What do you need? What is it that you don't understand, so we can help clarify that. So I love that. Market disruptor on all fronts. We're going to do it this year. Appreciate you doing this, Brad.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.